Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. It's time to talk real estate with Laura Bramnick from TalkRealEstateAZ.com. That's your website, TalkRealEstateAZ.com. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Sinclair.
Laura is an attorney and a realtor. It's a twofer.
It's a twofer.
And really, many times it is a twofer, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
It doesn't cost more to have an attorney representing you on a real estate transaction.
Right. I always look to see if I'm entitled to part of the commission, so I can offer that to the client and tell them that the commission will pay for my legal services.
Other times people just approach you as a real estate attorney and say, I've got a problem, can you help me out?
Yes, exactly. And that happens every day, obviously.
Sure. Of course, the preferred method is to get it right the first time.
Yes, try to be proactive, see a qualified real estate attorney, find out what your rights and liabilities are, what your options are, and what your risks are.
And you work in residential and commercial real estate and land transactions.
Yes, I do.
All those.
Yep, at landlord-tenant, and just about everything in real estate.
Licensed as a realtor in Arizona, also through the State Bar of Arizona.
Yes.
Years ago, you did some work as a divorce attorney, though.
Yes, that was in my pre-Arizona days. But yes, in New Jersey, I focused mainly on family law divorce issues. That was in the 80s.
Actually, divorce and real estate sometimes go together.
Yes, they do.
And when they do, it's usually a big surprise for somebody.
Yes, it can be a big surprise because people, they list their property and their assets. And okay, you get this, I'll get that. But they don't sometimes realize what the ramifications can be around the real property that they own. The most common situation is where one spouse wants to keep the house.
Mm-hmm.
And they may not be able to refinance and get the other spouse off the mortgage. This is assuming that both spouses are on the mortgage, and which is more common, but less frequently. Sometimes you have one spouse, but in this
Right.
situation, they may not be able to refinance, maybe because mortgage loans are harder to get now, much stricter. If you're self-employed, you can't do the stated income loans anymore, or the house value has dropped and you don't have enough equity to refinance. You may not have any equity at all. And so, when spouses are negotiating, a lot of times they'll say, oh, well, I'll make the payments if you let me stay in the house. I'll do all the repairs, and we'll just sell it later when it rises in value.
But somebody may still be on the actual mortgage and
Yes.
still be on the hook.
On the hook. That prevents the spouse who's not living there from many times getting a mortgage of their own if they want to buy a house, after the divorce.
Or if something happens to the person living in the house and they can't make the payments,
Right.
sickness, loss of job,
Exactly,
death.
exactly. And
Big surprise,
yeah,
right?
Make no mistake, the mortgage company will come after you. You can send them your divorce decree and say, my spouse is responsible under Arizona law to make these payments. And you know what the lender's going to say to you? We are not a party to that divorce decree. We did not agree to the terms. We are not a signatory on that divorce decree.
So this is something that has to be worked out ahead of time.
You need to know if you're on the mortgage and you're not responsible for making the payments, that does not get you off the hook, and you need to have a plan. Whether it's, if the spouse misses one payment, the house automatically gets listed for sale, even if it's a short sale, or whether you're named as the trustee or the power of attorney to sell the house. If the spouse dies, maybe you don't care about their other assets, they can have somebody else handle those. But when you're on the mortgage, you should be responsible for what happens to that house.
Oh yeah, imagine somebody dies and there is an executor of the
Right.
estate.
Right.
that's not you, but you have the mortgage on the property in the estate.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know, mortgage companies, they can be ruthless.
Oh, yeah.
They want their money, and they don't care, you know, they don't care to wait.
We talked last week as well about some different types of properties that people own. A lot of people own rentals or some commercial as well as residential, maybe some land somewhere, something like that.
Yes.
That getting into a divorce situation, now you've got even more to deal with. You've got possibly tenants involved in issues. You've got leases,
Right.
on and on, that have to be worked out.
And you also want to make sure that you have the true value, because you're negotiating a division of assets. And Zillow doesn't do it in terms of, because there's
Right.
other things that go into value besides what Zillow says.
Mhm.
You know, and you want to get the history of maybe one spouse owned it before the marriage, or there are other issues that you want to get into, especially if it's not being sold right away. And if it appreciates in value, how's that going to be divided?
A lot of issues, and the big thing to avoid is a surprise down the road.
That's right. Because let me tell you, if one spouse gets sick or dies and stops paying the mortgage, and you're on that mortgage and you're the non-occupying spouse, that can really damage your credit. You can, on certain mortgages, most of them you're protected, but some of them you can be sued, which means you can have a judgment against you, have your wages garnished. You don't want to give up the occupancy and stay on the mortgage. You don't want to give that up lightly.
Be proactive on real estate in a divorce, not reactive. Don't get surprised down the road.
Exactly. Proactive, not reactive.
Laura can help. 480-624-2705. 480-624-2705. That'll put you in touch with Laura Bramnick. She answers her own phone. 480-624-2705. You can find out more at talkrealestateaz.com. talkrealestateaz.com. Laura, happy holidays.
Same to you,
And
Sinclair.
I hope we didn't bum people out by talking about divorce as we're heading into the holidays. But it's important to know this stuff.
It is important. You're correct.
Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you.